Hey everyone, welcome to DCF Garage. And what I'm gonna do today on me and gorgeous wife's VTX 1800, I'm gonna replace all brake pads. So I bought the whole set, and if you're familiar with the channel, you know I like new parts and I like OEM parts. And I got the whole set here. So this one, the part number is MCV016, is a rare brake set. This one is the MCH006, is the front left pad, and this one, the MAT E22, is the front right pad set. You can see the rear and the front, they have a different pattern. The front has some grooves, the rear is solid. The rear seems to have more material than the front. Let me try to show this here on camera. So it's got more material, friction material than the front, which is interesting. And also the rear has these slots where the front does not have. So they're different parts, and let's get them all installed. So first thing I want to do is I want to get the rear pads out, and I also want to try to bleed a little bit of the brake fluid, because the pads, they were CVC pads, I think, and they had very little material, and they are, I would say, worn out. And the new pads, the OEM pads, they're very thick. So I'm gonna need to push the brake cylinder in, and I don't wanna overflow the master cylinder in the front. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come with my bottle, very technological device, very advanced, and I'm gonna stick it in. So I'm gonna try to loosen up the bleeder valve, and I'm gonna try to push the brake cylinder in. See if this works. Yeah, it's working. Okay, and I'm gonna close it now. I managed to push the cylinder in a lot. You can see it's gonna move freely now. As you can see, 5mm Allen. All right. Okay, so the first pad came out. As you can see, it's still got good amount of material, but I'm also replacing this pad because it's not the OEM pad. It's very noisy. It's very hard. So I didn't really like these pads. I'm gonna come back with OEM. All right, so I got the pin out. It came with the rubber, and I got the other pad out. Okay, so as you can see, it's got pretty much even wear. So that means the caliper is moving freely. That's a good sign. Now let's go back in with the new pads. Now I'm gonna use a little bit of brake lubricant on the back of the new pads, just to make sure it doesn't, make those squealy, annoying noises. Just a little bit. Here it is. And just make sure, I'm gonna put it on the back of the pad. Just make sure you don't get it on the braking surface, because that would ruin the pad. So I'm gonna go back in, and you just have to slide the slot here into the back, and you'll feel when it's properly seated. Yeah, you can feel it. Now let's go with the other side. Put a little bit of lubricant. All right, now let's put this one in. Okay, now we come in with the pin. Okay, so let me get this out of the way, the bottle with the brake fluid. We're gonna use it again for the front brakes. Put the dust cap back on. Let's torque the pad pin, and my torque wrench is set to 13 foot-pounds. And that's it. Now we're gonna do the front left brake, and the part number is MCH006, so let's get these out. So it's gonna go in like this. Nope, it's gonna go in like this, right? So the hoops are here at the bottom, and we're gonna slide them up, and so let's get the one out. Now I'm gonna try to do the same trick that I did to press the caliper in and try to get some fluid out to, you know, make room for the new pads that have more material than the old pads. And the bleeder valve for the front brakes is going to be the top bleeder valve. The middle bleeder valve is the one for the rear brake. So remember, this bike has a combined braking system. So we're gonna connect it to the top bleeder valve. I'm gonna connect my advanced bleeder bottle. So hopefully that was enough to install the new pads. Let's remove the dust cap for the pad pin. All right. So these are the old pads. Still got some friction material, but again, these are very noisy, very hard pads. So let me put the inner side, slide it in, hold it in place, put the outer side in. That's tight because, you know, I didn't push the cylinder back quite much, but it was just enough. So it's actually holding the pads in place. Now I'm gonna go in with the pad pin. And one thing I forgot to mention on the rear pads, you wanna add a little bit of anti-seize to the threads so it's not a nightmare and you break the bolt when you try to replace the pads again. So just a little bit. Hopefully it's in the right position. Managed to push the pad pin in. All right, that's it, not a lot of torque. And that's it. So we've done the left side, let's do the right side. Loosen the bleeder valve a little bit. And I'm gonna try to compress the caliper. And again, this one is harder because it's got three cylinders. It's not just the front ones, there's the back ones. So I think that's gonna be enough. Close the bleeder valve here. Get this out of the way. All right, now let's get the dust cap for the pad pin off. 5mm Allen. Let's break the bolt. Place my hands here to hold the pads. I don't want them to break. One just slid. No, both of them did. So let's look at the pads. So here on the light, yep. So still a lot of friction material, but again, very, very hard pads. It's kind of, it's got grooves in the middle and pieces of it are missing. So it is weird. It was weird. That's why I'm replacing it, but it still had some material. I think it's just old. It's probably been there a long time, and I don't ride the bike as much. All right, now let's go in with a new pad. So it's the MAT E22 is the right side. So, okay, so I got the new pads. We're gonna place it in. Just slide it. I'm gonna start with the rear pad first and then with the front pad. Just gonna align it to the rotor and just, you know, slide it in and press the caliper, make it easier. Okay, and I can feel it's in place. I'm gonna come with the other pad. Same thing, align it with the rotor. Just go with the cylinder. Yeah, it pretty much slides in. Put the pad pin back on. You have to wiggle the pin so it holds both pads. Once it holds both pads, you're fine. It's just gonna stay in place. And I'm gonna put some anti-seize like I did on the other side. All right, let's drive this in. And torque it to 13 foot-pounds. Just gonna clean some of the anti-seize here and put the dust cap back on. And now what you have to do, I have to settle the pads. I have to make sure they're settled. So press on all of the brakes, the front lever, the rear brake lever, make sure it's got pressure, and then you have to do the settling procedure. That is several brake applications from 40 miles to 10 miles per hour. Don't completely stop. Just make a hard application from 40 to 10 miles. Maybe 5, 6, 7 times, and that should be enough to, you know, settle the pad and start the wear process on the pad. I came from the future to tell you that I did the bedding procedure, and I have good and bad news. The good news is that the OEM pads perform much better than any aftermarket pads. They break a lot better. And the bad news is that I found out that my front tire is more than 5 years old, and now with the better brake pads, it's just much more powerful. It was actually locking the front wheel. So bottom line, before you go doing the bedding procedure, make sure you have good front tires, they're in good condition, and just be careful. So that's it. I hope you liked the video. I hope this was useful. And if you have, don't forget to subscribe, give it a like, you know the drill. Thank you.